Focus on who's on the ground. No. God damn it. So we're gonna basically go over, you know, what you've been experiencing, like how the climb has been for you. What's the story so far with you and climbing, Noah?
So basically, I was able to go from like 1460 something to 1600 really quickly, just based off of like the little tips that you gave me in that first coaching session. And then I was having trouble because my mentality was wrong. And then we had that like pro talk where we talked it out about what was causing me to tilt so much, and just decided that voice chat was what was causing me to go on tilt. And then causing me to make a lot more mistakes than I like either normally would, or it would make me make the same mistakes. So then I stopped joining voice chat, and I immediately climbed like from 1500 to almost 2100 in like 2 days.
Nice. Okay, so that's what, like almost 600 SR, or I would say I'll say roughly 500 right now. All right. So also, what is with the new name change? Why are you all of a sudden a Stinky? What's going on with that?
So basically 7 months ago, I made a change for the better in my life. I got sober. So I am a recovering alcoholic, as the saying goes. Hi, my name is Noah, I'm an alcoholic. But I got sober. I've been sober for about 7 months, and my name was Drunk Bastard beforehand. And one thing that was causing me to tilt a lot was people were just being very disrespectful about it. I would tell them, like, they would say I'm drunk or something like that, and I would say, hey, I've been sober 7 months, do you mind not like saying that, or something along those lines, and then they would just keep going and stuff, and it would get under my skin. So yeah.
Okay, so it's a good name change for the better, to kind of like stop people from just like, you know, not calling you names, but like just bringing that up for no reason, at least, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's actually a really smart idea, because it's just like, why would you even think about something like that when you're playing a game, right? It's just like, I'm here to focus, I'm here to play. It's like, it's kind of disrespectful, I think. But yeah, congrats, dude. 7 months. That's good. I didn't know that it was
a year soon.
Yeah. All right, congrats, dude. It's good to hear. All right, cool. So we're going to be going over today some of the VODs that you sent me. And before we get started, what is it that you wanted to talk about in regards to this game? Like any kind of thoughts or any, you know, things that you wanted me to touch on, or you have any questions that you kind of like have lingering as a result of this game?
Mainly just sorry, I'm trying to think.
It's okay.
I had it.
It's fine.
I
Take
didn't
your
write
time.
it down though. So basically, I just wanted to, because I do play Widow for a majority of this, and I did feel like I was the deciding factor whether we win or lost. Like there was a couple of plays I made where I kind of died, even though like I would get a kill. Me staying alive was kind of like what needed to happen for us to win. So kind of like my positioning on Widow, and then angle isolation as well. Maybe some spots that I don't really know about that maybe you do for this game, and then like my mentality about it, like what I need to be thinking when I'm doing this, because this Widow isn't something we haven't really talked about a whole lot. We've mainly focused on Tracer.
Okay, cool. A lot of it does come down to mostly just positioning and obviously aim. Like if you have really good aim, then positioning kind of, you know, it kind of carries your positioning if you get your shots off. But obviously, you don't want to be poking out at the wrong times and at the wrong angles. So we'll see how this goes. We'll start off with first point on defense. Yeah, defense. Yeah, Widow can be a little bit tricky here. People think it's all about aiming, and it is up to a certain point. But I feel like, let me lower this just a little bit. It's kind of blaring in my ear. Okay, cool. But yeah, a lot of it does require aim, but position does matter a lot more. It gives you the advantage over the enemy Widow once you get to a certain point. Looks like your gun is bugged out. Okay, so first mistake, you saw that already, right? Okay, so you realized one main problem here, and it was because what was the main thing that you thought was incorrect about this?
So I saw the Widow, and I saw she was aiming at me, but I continued to trace the Zarya down as she jumped off.
So you actually knew that this Widow was there. You knew for a fact that she was actually looking at you in your vision?
Well, hindsight's 2020. I saw her while we were watching this. In game, I didn't notice.
Okay, so in game you didn't notice her. That's really important, because if you saw that she was there and you knew that for a fact that she was looking at you, but you still shot at the Zarya, that's an entirely different problem, right? But then now you know that she's there, now you know that you're supposed to be focusing the Widow, or at least I assume that's what you know, right?
Yeah, I do know.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just like, like I said, there's two different problems. If you knew that she was there and you ignored her, then that's one problem. However, if you didn't see her, then that's another problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, one of them would be tunnel vision, and the other one would be target prioritization. So your target priority is good. You know you're supposed to be looking out for the Widow. However, you got distracted by the Zarya. So one thing that you want to be starting off with, especially as Widow, is you're going to have to always assume that they have an enemy Widow at the very start, before you push tab. So, you know, when you push tab, you have 15 seconds, and then you don't know what they're playing.
Yeah.
So you have to, within those 15 seconds, you have to always assume that they have a Widow. Unless, of course, somebody calls out, oh, they have 2 DPS, none of them are Widow, then yeah, you can freely come out here. Because you don't know. You don't know for a fact if a Widow is going to pop out here, or she's going to pop out lower. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're going to get knocked off the first point. Not only that, whenever you see... I guess in this first 15 seconds, sometimes it's good for you to not always give away your position, especially if you're not sure if they have a Widow. Right? So for example, let's just say you're shooting right here. Okay. Let's just say your position was in this area and you started shooting at the Reinhardt who was coming out. What would the Widow see? The Widow would see your arrows, right? Or she would see your shot coming from this angle. So she would kind of generally know where you are. It gives away your position whenever you shoot first. Okay. So that's kind of like one thing that you want to be careful about, is if you don't know if they have an enemy Widow, it's even more important for you to not shoot first unless you are like going for a pick. Because if you give away your position, then what's this Widow going to do if she knows your position? She's going to be, oh, okay, well, I know she's on high ground over there. I'm just going to kind of like go out of her line of sight and then maybe get to this high ground where she doesn't actually see me, and then I'm going to pick her off. You know what I mean? It's like you're giving information to the enemy Widow where you are, and she knows that you are her biggest threat. So she's going to lock on to you. Does that make sense? So basically, whoever shoots first tends to have the disadvantage because it gives away the position. Positioning is super important in regards to Widow versus Widow because, for example, if you are shooting here and she knows that you are paying attention to this fight here and she knows that you're zoomed in, all she has to do is hook up to this high ground, and she knows that you're looking down there and she just gets a free shot, right? But if she doesn't know where you are and she doesn't know what you're looking at, there's always a risk of her being shot by you because you might be looking at this entrance or she might be looking at this entrance, right? There's always this risk of Widow versus Widow if you don't know where the enemy Widow is. It's kind of like, am I going to get shot or am I not going to get shot or stuff like that? Because like this is going to happen. If you don't know the enemy Widow is, you know, out there and you're not paying attention, or at least you're not playing a little more cautious, this is going to happen to you a lot. Okay, so first thing, I want you to be a little bit less aggressive on your position. So let's actually talk about a good position for you to be at. Okay, so as Widow, this is a very risky spot because once the door is open, if they see you, she can actually shoot you from here, right? And she can be under a shield and you won't be able to do anything, and she can shoot back at you. Make sense? So it's like,
yes,
you want to be using either your shield on your team or natural cover and not be too obvious with your position. Okay, so I would stay around maybe like up here. This would be a nice spot. This would be a nice spot because she can't see you right out of the spawn door, right? But also this gives you information and also gives you a little bit of cover to shoot under, just in case you need to dip out. Looks like your team ended up getting rid of the enemy Widow. So right now, when the enemy Widow is down, you should be like, okay, this is kind of like a free time for me to just like get as many picks as possible. Be as aggressive as you can. Always pay attention to the kill feed. Like that, right? Again, you're also not using a lot of natural cover. This is interesting. But yes. So like when this happened, like there's one spot for you to be at, and that's really good. It's right here. This is a nice spot for you to be at because you can shoot, and if the enemy Widow is here, you can kind of use this wall as a natural cover. Does that make sense? Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this wall and these boxes are natural cover, but you can also still kind of shoot at the team at the same time. Well, if you're over here, you do have a good shot on the enemy team, but you kind of don't after this part, right? And you got to think about it. Once you get to this location, right? What are you going to do if the Ana ends up sleeping you, or if the Ashe decides to go onto high ground, right? Because they have an Ashe. Where's the Ashe right now? The Ashe is right here, right? You're a little too close. This is too close. So what happens if you're like within range? Like imagine if they had a hog, right? If they had a hog, you would just get hooked. Or if you get slept by the Ana, the Ashe can come up to the high ground and very easily she can just like one-shot you. So I think you're playing a little bit too close at this moment. You're not really seeing the entire big picture of what's happening. And as Widow, you don't really want to be this close unless, of course, your team is playing this close and you have cover and somebody protecting you at the same time. That make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So it's like that too. Like if you're also corner peeking, you got to realize they may not always be peeking from the same angle. Right, this is what a good Widow does. She changes locations because then you thought she was up here, but she actually went down and she dropped down and changed her position. That's what you should always be doing as Widow too. Right. First of all, you shouldn't really be this close, but if you are playing this close, you don't want to be playing it for too long. Right. What's going to happen is that they're going to end up changing their positions while you stay the same, and they're going to know exactly where you are. Right. If you keep doing this and she gets out of range, for like 2 seconds, she could be down here, she could be going up this way, and you won't even know. But if you're still staying here, right, she's just gonna guess that you're here. And if you are here, she's gonna have the jump on you. So you always wanna be changing your position, especially if, like, just think about it. If you shot the Widow once, right, do you think she's gonna peek out again? No, right? Because you shot her once. All you have to do is shoot her in the body one more time, and she dies. Not only that, you gotta think about the advantage that you have. Okay, so you shoot her once. She gets shot. If she were to peek out first, you would already have your crosshairs here, and it would be a very easy shot for you. Your reaction would be faster. Does that make sense? Do you know why you have the advantage here?
Yeah, peeker's advantage.
Yes, exactly. Because then you know exactly that she is going to somehow peek out from here if she does again. But then if she peeks out, she would have to kind of like test the waters and be like, is it going to be here, 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 or here? And he kind of has to like figure that out. But you know for a fact, he's going to be here 100% if he does, right? You're not moving. He's the one who's moving and he has to figure that out. So you are at an advantage. He knows that. So you got to think, okay, is a Widow, like, this is kind of like where people start to realize they're at a disadvantage and they're going, all right, I'm not going to peek out again or else I'm going to die, right? And that's why she changed her spot or changed the location. Same for you. If you ever end up getting shot once, right? You're not going to peek out again because you know for a fact she's going to shoot you and she has the advantage. So you're going to change your locations and figure out where else you can shoot from to kind of surprise her. And that's what the enemy Widow did. This is not where you are supposed to be on your team. Every time you play Widow, you need to be utilizing high ground as much as you can. Because if the enemy team decides just to push, like what happens if your McCree dies? What's going to happen? They're going to push up. You're going to be here. And you can't really do anything. Your hook is on cooldown, 5 seconds left. Your goal as Widow is to hold high ground and nuke them from whatever angle you can without being accessible. Okay, look at what they have on their team. They have a Widow, they have Ashe. They don't have any dive tanks. Okay, the only people that can technically deal with you is Widow if you're far range and Widow and Ashe if you're medium range. Nobody else can really deal with you. Okay, so you have to use that to your advantage. Once you drop down to low ground, everybody has access to you, right? Everybody can literally just walk up to you and you die. So low ground is the last place you want to be as Widow, based off of their comp. Now, there are strategies for you to be a little bit sneaky. Like let's say you could be down here and you know for a fact that they're not going to be looking this way because, you know, your team is playing like at an off angle or something like that. Then yeah, sure. But that's a little bit of a different scenario. But technically or generally, you want to keep high ground as much as you can. One thing I also noticed is that you need to be using your Widow Mines a little bit more, or your your Venom Mines. So you know Venom Mines do 75 damage, and also they provide you vision for a certain amount of time when the damage is being done, correct?
Yes.
So that's basically like a mini ult for you. So there should be no reason that you don't throw it like, you know, anywhere on the map. Like if you just come out of the spawn right here, like you can throw it like on the side, or you can throw it just somewhere hidden where like right here. This would be a good spot if you can put it here, because what will happen is that they would walk past and then it will explode behind them and they won't be able to get hit by it, or they won't be able to see it. Whenever you use a Widow Mine, if you're not used to throwing them in spots like that, I would want you to just like throw it into the enemy team or like somewhere near the enemy team, just so you can have it out there. And then once you start getting used to throwing it, then you can start thinking of spots. Oh, okay, like I would throw it here so that when they walk past it, maybe like here, this would be a good spot right here. Because if they walk past it, or here, if they come into it this way, what's going to happen is that they're most likely going to be looking this way, right? If they look this way, it's going to go off behind them and they won't be able to shoot it. But if you put it like right here, right, and they walk towards it, they're going to see it and they're going to shoot it. So whenever it comes to Widow Mines or Venom Mines, you want to be thinking of spots where it's like, where are they going to walk past where they most likely won't be looking? If you throw it right here and they come out the door, it's going to hit them behind them. Does that make sense? You know how that's how the Venom, the proximity mine works, right?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I just want you to just use it a little bit more. If you're not used to it again, just throw it somewhere, just in case, you know, somebody decides to come a little bit closer, or it just gives you extra damage. Okay, so that's good. I like that you're checking those areas for widows. Okay, you're number 1. Yep. Okay, that's good. Yeah, right, like that. So a perfect example. Okay, so I know you were trying to throw the widow mine right here on the floor. What's going to happen when the Ashe comes out, right? She's just going to see it. It's going to be on the floor right in front of her. She's just going to shoot at it and blow it up. So one spot you can do is up here. On top of the door.
That's where I was trying to throw it, was on top of the door.
Oh, on top of the door? Oh, okay. I was wondering, I was like, was it on the floor or on top of the door? Okay. Okay. I can see that. I can see that. Okay. Nice shot. So now you're kind of free to hold high ground at will. You just gotta make sure that you get rid of this Ashe. Alright. Good, good. Okay, so I see that you're aiming for the tanks. Now that is the only thing you technically see right now, but I want you to at least check the back line, you know, because if you get, you know, a full body shot on this Moira, she's dead, you know, help out the support in the back line. It's kind of like you're playing Tracer as Widow. You always want to be going for the easiest targets. Okay, it doesn't matter what hero you are. What is the easiest target for you to shoot? I mean, technically, yes, tanks are easiest because they're big, but it's like you're going to require like maybe 6 or 7 continuous shots. And by the time that you get those shots done, the support are going to be keeping them alive, right? So you should be going for targets that are one shot for you, because technically you do 120 damage body shot, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so just like Tracer, go for the one that has the easiest kill potential for you, aka Moira or first supports. It's a little bit different because you're Widow and you're going to be, your priority is technically Widows first and other snipers. So it's kind of the same thing. But for Widow, your priority is other snipers first, then the support, then the tanks, in that order. If you are in position to choose, that is your priority. A lot of the times though, you may not be in that position where you might just see a, you know, because you're playing a different angle where you only see like one target. And yeah, of course, go ahead and shoot at that target. But you just got to make sure, is it worth it for you to give away your position? But that's a entirely different story. But yeah, I think this is just target priority right here. Tanks shouldn't be your number 1 thing if you have the choice to choose other targets. Right there, there's an Ana right there for free. Right, I'm not sure if you saw that. Go faster. Right here. Set on right here onto the left. One body shot. Yep. Yeah, so you're tunneling a lot. I think it's because you're not really used to playing Widow too much. You're kind of just like, oh, I gotta shoot this target. Everybody's focusing him, I'm gonna shoot him. It's kind of the same thing as Tracer, right? I don't really know how to get rid of tunnel vision on different heroes, but I think it's the same idea, right? Just kind of like be thinking about who's pumping all these heals into this Rein. How come this Rein's not dying, right? Why is he taking forever? Oh, because there's an Ana shooting at him. That makes more sense. Right? There's a reason why he's so hard to die. Right? So, but I like the fact that you're paying attention to this right now. You're realizing that the enemy Widow was supposed to be back by now. I'm assuming it's because you looked at the kill feed, or you just kind of like had that internal clock in your head. Correct?
Yeah, I was thinking about when is the Widow gonna come back next.
That's really good.
Where is she gonna come from too?
Yes, exactly. That's really good because that means you've been looking at the kill cam more, or you've been building that internal clock, which is nice. But right here, when you're doing the Widow versus Widow, right? So I see that whenever you're looking at that enemy or on the right side, like this is kind of an open area again, right? You're kind of standing out way in the open again. You're not using your walls. Whenever you're peeking as Widow, you should try to stay as close as you can to a wall in case anybody starts to shoot at you so you can back out. This is a bad spot, right? Though this will give you good vision over the enemy team, you can do the same thing here, but be hugging the wall, right? Why is this a better spot? Why is right here a better spot than out here?
You're only able to get shot from a couple of different spots rather than pretty much anywhere.
Exactly, right? So if you do this, the Widow can't see you, right? You can't see her, she can't, well, technically, sometimes they can see you even if you don't see them, but in general, like this, if you're here, she can't see you. She can see your shots, and you can have the same shots against the Rhine and also the Anna, and you're not really giving up your location. Now, it would be a different story if the enemy Widow was here, but still, it's always good for you to practice that. Or it's like, oh, okay, if she's there, then at least I'm close to a wall, then I can just go, boop, right? Now she can't see me anymore. Cool. Now I can back out. She is also not doing a very good job because she doesn't have anywhere to hide, right? She can't go left. She can't go right. She has no barriers. What she should be doing is staying here. Because she can peek up, boop, boop, like that, right? This is what a good Widow would do. Peek out, shoot, peek out, shoot. If you jump out way in the open like that, it's an easy shot for you. You have no cover. And it's just like, now it's more just about whoever can aim better. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And if it does come down to aim, then it's just like, okay, well, maybe you might be consistent with your aim. You may or may not be. It's better for you to kind of like at least use the walls a little bit and at least give yourself an advantage. So every time you peek an enemy Widow, you want to shift this pillar. Does that make sense? You want to shift this pillar to the point where it looks like this, not like this, because this is too wide of an angle for you to have to peek, right? Because you're basically kind of, I know this is a little convoluted, it's a little difficult because it depends on the distance between you and the object that you are comparing.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No,
Because
I understand what you're saying.
Because if you're right here, then you can peek out right here, and then you can come back really quickly. Here, and then really quickly like this, right? The amount of movement it takes for you to use this as a blocking point is very short if you're here. But if you're here, how much effort do you need to use that as your blocking point? A lot of effort. Because of course, that's farther away from you, and it's closer to her. Even if you were here, you can kind of just like do one jump, and that's fine. But then let's say, for example, you're trying to use this same spot as your object of blocking. If you tried to do that here, right? This would be bad because you would have to go a lot farther in order for it to happen, right? So you don't want to be out here in the open because, well, you don't have access to cover very easily. So that's kind of like the geometry of Widow versus Widow. Using objects or the environment to create cover for yourself, as well as to figure out how much cover they have. If you don't see a lot of objects in their way, she doesn't have any objects here. The only thing she can technically do is use this as a wall. But then after at this point, she doesn't have any cover anymore. If you happen to come out like this, she can't escape you, right? While you can just go like this. Here, you can escape her. You can run away. She can't really run away if she's out here. So you got to be thinking, okay, if that's the case, then I can be a little bit aggressive with her, but also be smart at the same time. How do I get cover while she does not have cover? Where can I be where I can shoot her and I can get away easily, but she cannot? All right, that's the mind game of Widow versus Widow in regards to positioning. Okay, so look at the way that you're creeping out, right? She is locked on you. She knows you're going to be coming out from here. You can tell because she's looking this way, right?
Yes.
So what are you going to expect when you pop out? That she's going to shoot you?
A shot, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because she, look at this. She can see your legs. Like, this is why it's really bad. You got to be thinking about the geometry of the height. Again, look at it. If you guys were on the same level, it might be a different story, right?
Right, but because she has high ground, she's going to see my toes before I can even see anything of her.
Exactly. So it's like, now it's not just about shooting, it's about who can see who first and what angle you guys have. This is why high ground is actually really, really good, because she can't see your head, but you can't see her head either, right? But she can see your feet. Just gotta be careful whenever you're going through doorways that they can see your legs before they can see you. And that's why high ground, they tend to be at the advantage whenever you're going through a doorway. Okay, you're getting heals. Okay, so right now you're spending too much time, right? You're spending way too much time. For all you know, she could be peeking out this way. For all you know, she could be peeking out this door. She may not even be looking at you, but still, she just may not be doing that, right? It looks like she may end up doing that right now. Okay, no, she's not. But you're staying scoped for way too long. You shouldn't be doing this. This is something where this is just like tunnel vision. Imagine you're tunnel visioning not the person, but you're tunnel visioning a possibility of somebody coming up. Like, oh, she's gonna come out here. There's a chance she's gonna be here. Is it? Like, how long are you willing to wait? Right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, like, what is it gonna be like? Okay, I'll wait 10 seconds, and then if she's not here, then I'll leave. Like, it's never a good idea for you to kind of just like sit here doing that. Always look around whenever you can, because you don't even know. Look at this. This team is already pushed up. Like, there's no way for you to really get out. Like, technically you can drop down, you can hook up here, but it's just like by the time you hit the ground, you're dead. All right, so you're spending way too much time being scoped in. You should be constantly scoping in, scoping out, looking at different locations, see where she is, right? Like, the enemy team didn't know that you were here, and that's their fault, to be completely honest. But yeah, I think you could have done this a little bit. I mean, this is actually really, really good time. I mean, now it looked like it was a good idea, because it's like, oh, they didn't even know you were here, right? And now you're getting this free flank because of the fact that you were kind of like tunnel visioning here. But in reality, if anybody just ended up coming up from a different angle and just started shooting at you, then you may have not even known that they were looking at you. I think that is the moral of the story. Now,
yeah, I could have unscoped and done the same thing that I was doing, basically.
Exactly.
More eyes on more angles.
Yes, that's the moral of the story. You're scoping in too hard. You're not getting enough information on what everybody's doing. Now, being here is not bad, because imagine you were scoping in, like, okay, maybe 2 seconds. Oh, she's not there. You check down here, not there. And then you just sneak here. You take a look. Oh, they're there. Okay, they're there. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to wait. Maybe wait for 5 seconds. And then when they push up, then I'm going to flank from behind. Good. That's a good plan. But I think you kind of just got lucky here, because you were just kind of like, oh, I'm going to scope in here, see what happens. And okay, I'll give up. Oh, look, they're there. Cool. It's just like everything just kind of fell in place for you. But there are ways for you to get this set up. And this is kind of like the power of Widow. But you need to be aware of what you are doing, right? Not just like, oh, randomly it happens and you're lucky to be there at that spot. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. That's good. Okay. So you don't really need to drop down here. Like, you don't really have to. What you can do, you can technically, like, if you trap yourself in here, like, it's kind of scary, because anybody can be, because they know you're here now, right? They know you're there. They know your position. There are only two ways you can get out. You can get out here, or you can get out there. A Widow whose location is given away is much less effective. So what you want to do, or at least what I think you should do, is just try to hook back to your team and just find another position, right? Because you're kind of digging yourself a hole right here.
Right.
Right. They know you're here, and now you don't really have a way to escape, right? They can, for all you know, they can just walk up here and just like pick you off, and they'll go back to the team fight. And I think at this level, yes, this can work, because they tend to kind of forget where you are, or the same trick basically can work twice if you're at this level. So it's okay for you to kind of like abuse this. But like, yeah, the Zarya is just coming up to you, and it's like, yeah, it's not working anymore. And this is what's gonna happen if, you know, if another person was on you, you would have been dead. So just like, yeah, that's cool for you to use that spot once, but then after a while, they're gonna kind of learn. Where it's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to deal with this Widow back here. She's gonna be up here. We're not gonna let her get free picks. So yeah, I would say after that fight is won, maybe just switch your spot, maybe up here, right? This is a little bit risky though, because you don't really have a lot of cover. You could be down here. This would be nice. You can peek Doesn't give you a wide angle to shoot, but it's nice at least. But one popular spot that I like, or not popular, but one spot that I like is up here, because you can see what's going on here. You can also shoot through this, but up here is really nice. It gives you a lot of information, and you can peek from here, and it's not really known for a lot of people. And also, like I said, high ground is very nice, but again, you gotta remember, does it give you cover? This is high ground, but do you see any cover? No, right? This is not good. This is not a good spot for you to be at. So every time you're looking for a spot on Widow, number one priority is cover. Number one priority is cover. Okay, if it's high ground but it doesn't have cover, you do not want to be here. But if it has cover and is high ground, that's your number one pick that you want to do. If there is high ground but no cover, but then there's low ground and cover, use the low ground with cover instead. You can also use the payload as cover too. That works. Ooh. Ooh, that's a big shatter. Yeah, that was rough. That was a little bit rough. Again, mostly because you were on point, right? You weren't using your range. One way you could have done was just like, I think all that happened because you didn't spend the time to kind of back up while your team was pushing in and winning the fight for you. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like you're being a little bit too aggressive while your team was allowing you to set up. So when your team is pushing in and it's already a one fight, use that time to set up in a different angle so that you don't get pushed. It's kind of like Tracer, right? Instead of waiting for your team to come and push with you, you use that time to reposition yourself so that when the fight happens, you're in a good position. It's the same thing, right? Remember? Instead of waiting for your team to come back from spawn as Tracer, instead of waiting, what you do, you flank, so that when the fight happens and your team gets back, you're in a good position. Same thing with Widow. When your team is pushing in and winning the fight for you and they don't really need you anymore, okay, cool. Find a different spot, maybe up here. Maybe I'll find a spot so that when the fight happens and the second fight happens again, now you're in a good spot. Because again, you don't have the mobility like Tracer. You can't just like, you know, fly all over the place. So I guess it's the same kind of rule, but it's just executed a little bit differently. Okay, so right now you're at 4 HP. You should not be peeking it right now. Okay, now you're healed. It's still very dangerous for you because you are considered one shot versus the enemy, versus the other person. Okay, yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Your main goal, figure out where they are. Okay, so now don't be afraid to change your positions now. Okay, so now you gotta be thinking, okay, where is the fight happening? This is a good spot only if they push in to this point. Does that make sense? So now that the fight is happening here, where do you need to be in order for you to be useful? Up here, right? So you gotta be continuously figuring out, am I able to shoot anything from here? Right? Because it changes. It changes on where the fight actually happens. This is a good spot because this is okay for a while. You can see the Ana, but now everything is out of range. Okay, so I need to see everything else that's happening here. So how do I do that? Well, you use your hook. Change your locations. You can do this. Yeah, technically you can do this, but it's very risky as well because if they end up looking at you, right, you don't have a way out. You just use your hook. The only way for you to dip out is behind you. So this is a risky move. It's a very, very risky move. Right? Like you don't want to ever aggress into an area where you don't have escape. So it's just kind of like Tracer, but you don't have recall. Right?
Yeah, that's what I've been relating this to is like Tracer.
Yep. You're kind of thinking the same way as Tracer because, well, technically the way you think about Tracer is kind of like how you think about everybody else, is the amount of risk. It's the amount of risk that you have in your position and whether or not you have enough abilities to get out. It's the same thing with Widowmaker, right? Okay, so you gotta be thinking. Okay, so what does she have to do in order to peek out this way and see you?
Grapple, and there's an audio cue, so I'll hear it.
Exactly. So what are you doing? Why are you spending so much time looking here when you can use an audio cue to tell you if she's going to do it? And also, do you think she's going to do it twice? Right? So I feel like, yes, you may, if she ends up doing it, you can catch her, but it's like, again, you're banking off the fact that she is going to make a mistake. You gotta be thinking about what provides you the most consistent value and what's more important, right? Where is she more likely to be? Here. What are the chances that she's going to do that again? Does that make sense? And she knows, like, she has walls. Do you think she's going to peek out if she knows that you're looking this way? No. Right? Especially since she has walls. If she didn't have walls, yeah, maybe you can do this, but you're still wasting your time. Your team needs you here and not there. You're a little bit, like I said, the priority is the enemy Widowmaker, but you shouldn't be trying to, how do I say this? Spend all of your energy and ignore everything else. You should not ignore everything else, because you can still do something here. You can still be shooting. Imagine if this Widow was not here, right? Imagine the Widow was going to do that, okay? What you can do, maybe you can get a free pick. You can get a pick on the Widow, or I mean, not the Widow, sorry, the Ana. Or maybe you get a pick on the, what was it, the Moira. That's 2 picks. If you get 2 picks, does it matter if the enemy Widow picks you off? No, because you got 2 and they only got 1. Does that make sense? The thing is, the Widow is a danger to you only if you see her or if she sees you. But now she sees you and you don't see her. This is kind of like the worst thing for it to happen to you. So one thing that you can do, what I like to do in Widow versus Widow, is to kind of just like listen for her shots. Listen and look for her shots. That is one way to easily identify where the enemy Widow is, right? You see that shot that just happened? That one right there, the red one, right? That's what you want to be listening and watching out for whenever you're shooting. When you're shooting the Ana here, or if you're shooting the Diva here, okay? If you shoot, your shot sounds different than the enemy Widow's shot, correct? Hers kind of, both of yours echoes, but hers kind of has like a lower crackle. So whenever you hear that, you should be like looking and thinking about where that shot is going and where it's coming from. That will give you enough information to tell you where the Widow is. Now, if you see that shot happening like that, you know for a fact that you're safe from the enemy Widow, right? Because, well, that she's kind of over here. It basically tells you exactly where she is, right? And you want to be using that information to tell you, oh, I can safely peek this angle. However, if you see a shot coming directly, you know, like at an angle that's like right here and going towards this way, if you see a red shot, you know for a fact, oh, she can technically see me here, so I got to be careful and watch out for her. So that's what you want to be doing in Widow versus Widow. A lot of it isn't just like shooting. Like, how do you get your advantage against the enemy Widow, right? By figuring out where she is before she knows that you're around. I think that's the best way for you to get a advantage on her. Didn't really need that teabag though, but it's okay.
Gotta take it when you can get it, right?
Yep. Okay, so before we move on, do you have any questions? Because I know I've been talking a lot, and you kind of just been like, yep, mm-hmm.
Yeah, so with Widow, the only question I think I have was answered, because one of the questions I had going into this was like, I really wanted to know if I was scoping too much, because I watch like other streamers play, or YouTubers, or even Overwatch League, like watching Ons play, and they spend a lot of time scoped, but I could never tell if that's because they're doing it intentionally or it's because they have information coming in from their teammates. Most
likely because they have information coming from teammates, or they know that they're safe. Right.
Okay, that makes more sense to me.
Like it could be for a fact where it's like this, right? Let's say, for example, you're up here and you see the enemy Widow shooting from that. Remember that shot on the McCree? Yeah. So for example, if you see this happening, you can stay scoped in as long as you want because you know for a fact she's here, right? It's like there's no danger for you to scope in. You're free. They don't have any dive targets. What do they have? They have a diva, but you see the baby diva right there shooting a little pistol, right? There is absolutely no danger for you to stay scoped in here. That's why they do that, right? Because they know. Like if the enemy, let's also say, for example, you were here, right? And you picked off the enemy Widow, right? Oh, okay, cool. You don't have any danger. Now you can literally stay scoped in as long as you want. Scope. But if you know for a fact that the Widow is there and she's alive, then you can't stay scoped in because she's going to dink you. So that changes every single time. Sometimes they stay scoped in because they know they're safe, and then sometimes they don't because they don't feel safe. And there's a lot of these different signs, aka, you know, whether people are alive, their positioning, the angle that the enemy widow was shooting at. All of that adds into whether or not it's safe for them to scope in or not. And I think at a certain level, you will kind of build that sense of safety, and you will know when it's safe and when it's not. But I think that just takes a little bit of time. Because I mean, Widow's not your man, and you're like, I don't know if I want to be.
I'm embarrassed.
I'm sorry I laughed. But what were you doing?
No, you should laugh. That was just the dumbest thing I think I've done in a while.
Okay. Bajillion things wrong here. I mean, can you actually name how many things, or tell me everything that is wrong with this picture?
Okay, I'll rattle it off.
Yes.
All right, so I'm frontlining as Tracer with 150 HP.
Mm-hmm.
I have no information on where the rest of their team is, knowing that they just died in a team fight.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm seeing the Ana come back, who was the first one we killed, it means that they're probably coming close behind.
Mm-hmm.
Then on top of that, I'm line of sighting my support, so there's no possible way for me to get out.
Mm-hmm.
My recall's on cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
I have just used all of my blinks.
Mm-hmm.
I am dead in the water here to just someone walking up and meleeing me 6 times.
Okay, good. You got everything. There's literally nothing here that is your saving grace.
Yeah, I knew. That's why I was so embarrassed.
Okay, that's good. At least you know. At least you admit it. Like, I was wondering if you're going to get your cooldowns and stuff, but yeah, you did. That's good. Okay, cool. So now you don't ever do that again.
Yep.
Hopefully.
No, I will.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, we'll see. We'll see. Okay, going for the back line. We should be focusing. Okay. So, at this point, so there was a couple of problems there. It's okay, it's not too big a deal. The Genji was weak, that's cool. You could have been going after the Ana though. The Ana was also weak, and she was more reachable. I don't know if you saw the Ana though. So the Ana's right there. You see the Ana. Focusing on the Ashe just a little bit. At this moment, you should see that the Ana is weak, and she should be your priority target. I know kind of you got distracted by the Ashe, but then right now you should be like, oh, there's an Ana here. I need to be going for the Ana.
Right there, I got their health bars confused, and I thought the Ashe was low. And then when I saw her get healed by the Ana, I swapped to the Ana for a second, and thought that, and didn't realize that she was as low as she was, and then started looking for another target as she was combining into her team.
Okay, cool. That's fine. Either way, even if the Ana was full HP, at this moment, that's the information that you have. You don't even know that you don't even know what the HP of the Genji is at this point, right?
Yeah.
So at this moment, who should be your priority based off of the information that you know at this moment?
Ana, for sure. Ana.
Exactly. Because you don't know that this Genji is half. Technically, right now, we have this information. Yes, you should go after the Genji first. But based off of the situation that you are in this game, you saw the Ana, but you don't know how much HP the Genji is. He could be full, he could be 1, but then since the Ana is closer to you, she is your priority target. You shouldn't be looking for other people to find or to shoot. Now, for example, if you popped out and you started shooting the Ana and she's full HP and you saw the Genji was 1, then yes, you can swap. But at this moment, you didn't even know that. So you need to be kind of like shifting your focus to what you need to be looking at, right? Because right now you're getting a little bit distracted. Like, you shouldn't be coming here, right? And it's okay, it's fine. We'll stop there. So right now, at this moment, right, you don't have anything to engage. You gotta be paying attention to the kill feed, top right. If you back up and you climb up this way, if the enemy team tries to chase you, cool, that's bringing them off the point, right? But the only person that can technically deal with you at this moment is the Genji. There's an Ana on point, there's a Moira on point, there's an Ashe on point, right? Somebody has to be on the cart. If everybody leaves the cart to chase you, cool, that's fine. You can blink here, right? You can blink in, wait for your cooldowns, right when they're about to touch you, you go blink, blink, get past here, and just kind of like bring them around on a chase. This is what you want to be doing as Tracer, if you feel confident. If your maneuvering is good and you can, you know how to play, hide and seek or cat and mouse, that's what you should be doing. Because look at this, nobody even knows that you're alive. The only person that knows you're alive is the Genji. So you gotta be thinking about who can see me or who knows about me and who doesn't know about me. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I do.
So it's like everybody was focused on the fight so much. The only person that really knows that you're around is the Genji. So what is the threat, or what is your actual danger if you know, sorry, I'm getting lost. Yeah, what is the actual danger if you kind of just like chilling here? Not really.
Nothing.
There's only one person, right? Now, if everybody was looking at you, like let's say you blinked in, you see the Genji, you saw the Ana use nade on you, you see the Reinhardt just swinging at you, and also the Ashe throwing dynamite at you, you know for a fact everybody knows you're alive. Then maybe that's a good time for you to just walk in and just die. Because there's a huge danger that everybody's going to turn around and start shooting at you, right? So you gotta kind of have to be aware of their awareness. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So it's kind of like, I don't know if you've seen me play before, but it's like, whenever I go against people who are chasing me, I kind of like to hide behind corners and like let them walk past me, because I can kind of guess where they're going to look at, and I can kind of guess that that's what their awareness is going to be. Because, well, you kind of read their minds. Like, what are they going to do when they go this way? If somebody were to come into this room, what's the first thing that they'll do? Look left, right? And most likely they'll just walk up the stairs like this. But what spot did they not check? This spot.
Stairs right there, yeah.
Exactly. So if you know somebody's going to be walking through here, this is a very good spot for you to be at, and just like one click. This is how you set things up. But that's just kind of like how you practice your awareness of the enemy's awareness, right? You gotta guess, what are they going to be looking at? Who is paying attention to what in this situation, and do they know that I'm around? If they don't, then I can kind of just like play a little hide and seek here. But if there's like really big dangers, then I gotta be I have to like, you know, figure out whether it's worth it for me to stay alive. So that's kind of like a mind game thing a little bit that I like to play. I guess it's kind of what differentiates you versus other tracers, right? Because it's not just about going in guns blazing and just shooting. This is kind of like mind gaming the enemy team. And if you know how to mind game the enemy team, just by doing that, it can actually give you a really, really big advantage. Cool, so they see 9. Nice. Alright, let me lower it just a little bit. It's a little bit loud. Cool. Alright, let's go a little bit farther. Okay. So is that a really common spot for people to be at?
Yeah, almost every game where there's a Widow in it at this like golden below, I almost always have somebody up there.
Okay.
Usually though, in my humbled opinion, I think it's usually Smurfs can get away with playing a super aggressive position like that. So I always check there.
You should definitely be using this whenever you're playing Widow. Always.
Okay.
Because you can see out, they can't see in.
Yeah.
You have the element of surprise as Widow. If you see a Widow up there, you know for a fact that she's going to be there. If she's there. So like when you have like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, peek out, boom, headshot. Back in. You know for a fact that she's going to be there. If you stay here. You can stay here with like 6 or 7 seconds left, but this is a very good spot for you to be at as Widow, so you can see and scope out what's going on and who's there. Okay.
Okay.
This will also tell you whether or not they have a Widow or not. If you see 2 DPS and they're not a Widow, then you don't even have to do that. Does it make sense? If you see,
yeah, it does.
If you see an Ashe or a McCree, like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. No one's going to be up there. I can just walk out and I can just find a different angle, maybe up here, and I'm safe. Use this as information to figure out where you can position and where you can come out from, and you know what your safety, whether you're safe or not. Okay, this is a scary range for you to be at. Why?
I'm in range for the Ashe to basically body shot dynamite me and kill me.
Yep. Or she can just like body shot, headshot you, and you dead.
Yep. Or the Ana could sleep me pretty reliably at this range. Even the mortar, I think, could DPS me from there.
Yep. So yeah, whenever you're within range of the enemy team like this close, you're basically frontlining. You're kind of the closest person, besides the Lucio who's kind of feeding. But anyway, that's a different story.
It's cool.
Keep still. Yeah, you could be up here. Right?
I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't know that this spot existed.
Yeah, you can stand up here. This will tell you, you can see the head of the Ashe, and you can see people who are there. Again, high ground is nice, but you don't have to be on high ground. You can honestly just start off on low ground too. Like, you can hop out, like if you're up here, and you don't see the Widow up there, you can drop down. Boop, 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 boop. And you just, like I said, listen for the Widow shots. If you see where the Widow shots are coming from, or if you don't see any Widow shots, just be careful. You shoot, and then maybe hook up from here. And you can come from this angle. Not sure if you knew about the spot either. This is the spot.
This one I did, yes.
There is technically one spot up here. You can kind of do this.
Yeah, this is a Doom spot that I use for rollouts.
Yeah, you can use it for Widow too. Not a lot of people use it, and I think you can get away with a lot if you use it. Just don't tell everybody. Well, I mean, this is going on YouTube, so, but whatever. Yeah. Here, I'll show you.
Oops.
Oops. Okay, so what you gotta do... You can do it from either angle too. You can do it from that side, or you can do it from this side. You can use it on attack or on defense. So you go like this, jump, and you stay here. You just go, whoop. You get a shoot like that. Get a free dink.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you can just stay here, and you can kind of peek out like this. And then once it's up, you can actually go on this side. You can use it on defense too, or yeah, you can use it on defense. All right, if you're here. You go like this. Like that. Okay. Wow. However, they can see you through that window if they see you. So you gotta be careful. So this is a little bit of a riskier spot. They may see you if they look there. They'll be like, oh, there's a Widow here. Okay, cool. It's better. This one is safer right here. This one is safer. It's not used as much, and you can get a lot of value out of it. And you can drop down like this. Did you see how I just dropped down into here?
Yeah, yeah.
And then now you can be here and you can do that. This spot is really good too, right here, because you can see all the way to that side. A lot of people like to hide there, right? You can see all of that. You can see all of that, a little bit of that too. So that's another spot. I don't think there's any other spots like that on this map. But now that you're aware of that, go ahead and use it.
I would have never thought that Widow could sit right there.
Yep, Widow can sit at the same spots as Doomfist can most of the time. If Doomfist can get there, so can Widow. So now, all the Doom spots that you know, you gotta be thinking, can I actually see the team from here? If I can, it's probably a good spot for Widow too. Anyway.
I feel like that's just gonna change my game completely on Widow.
Yeah, just experiment. Just go into like a random game and just like set your cooldown for hooks to 0 and just see like where can you get, right? Where can you get with a single hook? And then are you able to see the enemy team? If you can, cool, this is a nice spot. But yeah. Too close. Too close. Again, use your distance. You don't like to use your distance as Widow. You like to be like up in their face. You play Widow like you play Ashe. I like the same.
I definitely do. I'm more comfortable on Ashe than I am Widow.
Also, don't use your hook right out of spawn like this. Do you know why?
If there's somebody right here, I'm screwed.
What's more important? Is it more important for you to use your hook to get out faster, or is it more important for you to gain high ground with it?
Gain high ground, for sure.
Exactly. Right now you're using 7 seconds of... This is very, very important time that you're wasting. You're not doing anything because it's on cooldown. Why? Because you used it to gain this little thing so you didn't have to take the stairs. Right? Like...
Hey man, stairs are dangerous.
Yeah, so the value that you get from your hook really does matter. You don't want to be using it to travel laterally. I mean, unless you're trying to escape. Like maybe there's a Genji on you and you're just trying to like dodge it, or you're trying to get out or whatever. That's fine. But if you're using it just to get out of spawn faster, you gotta think twice. Like, am I going to use it? Am I going to be able to use it when I get out of spawn instead? If so, then I'll just use it up here instead. Right? It'll be better for you to just walk out and just use it up here. Get a good angle. Shoot, 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 shoot. Right? I mean, just in case, right? Like right now, you don't have it. Like her hook is probably, I will say it's like one of the most important things to her kit. Alright, she uses it to escape, she uses it to gain high ground, to position. It basically makes her kit. So you want to be using it valuably. Like you don't want to just like use it just to get out of spawn faster. It's kind of like Fade, remember? It's like if Moiras use Fade right out of spawn and you're right outside of spawn, well, they can't use it anymore. Alright. Right, so you just got to be a little bit careful in doing those knee-jerk reactions for like movement abilities. Just think about whether or not the situation is good for you to use it in. Because I mean, like if you're coming from spawn and it's like there's a lot of distance for you to travel before the fight, yeah, sure, you can use your hook because you won't need it. But since the fight's like right out here, you might need it. But anyways, now we're on Tracer. Different hero. Okay, I like the fact that you're going after the easiest target first. Normally would be the support, but it's okay. The reason why I like that one was because the Ashe was also in front of you on the closest one. Do you know why? Do you know why I think that was a good choice for you to do?
Because she wasn't looking at me, so the chances of me getting like a one clip off and just being very lethal really quickly before the team even has a chance to respond to it.
Exactly.
Is there.
Exactly. So technically, based off of the priorities, Anna should be first, right? Because she's a support. But Ashe is way in the back. She doesn't know you're around. She's an easy one clip. Or at least she should be an easy one clip. Right?
Yeah,
so it's like...
we gotta work on that aim.
Yeah, it's okay though. But I mean, like, your idea of switching between different priorities is good because it's dynamic. It's not always just clear-cut support first, support first, support first. Right? It's like, oh, if somebody's back here alone and they're easy to one clip, take care of them first, maybe. Right? Especially since Diana's not looking at them. So I like the fact that you're doing that. So you're actually improving a lot in regards to your thoughts when it comes to Tracer. Okay, you're backing out. Yeah, good, good. You don't need to take care of the tank. Reposition. So you're playing pretty well right now. I'm looking for a different angle. Thinking about who's coming back from spawn. The Ashe she just killed should be back here. Huh? It's okay. You thought that he was gonna go on high ground, and that's okay. I probably would have done the same thing too, but I would have been a little bit more aware.
So I died right there because I wasn't using my melees.
Yeah.
I would have killed him like before he even got a second shot off if I was just meleeing.
Okay. So again, what you can do is look down. Tunnel visioning again. At least check. Just check. Right? Because you didn't even check lower. Like, that's not enough. Like, you literally missed him, but he was there. You need to spend a little bit more effort to make sure you are, like...
Yeah, he gave me a little love tap to let me know he was there. He was being courteous.
You actually saw him. Right? You gotta be a little bit more thorough when you check.
Yeah.
Right now you're just kind of like, huh? Okay. You gotta be like, is anybody coming up? Okay, cool. Then I can check up here. Anybody check? Nope. Okay, cool. This is what you want to be doing. If you're me, or not if you're me, but if you're Tracer and you want to make sure to stay hidden, you gotta be like, okay, I'm looking. You gotta be sure you gotta sweep the area first, and it's not that hard. Just like scan. Cool. Takes like half a second. Go like this, and then scan. And scan. Right. So that's what I would normally do, at least. So he don't at least get caught by surprise. But yes, you didn't use your melees a lot. Definitely could have done a lot of damage for you. 2 melees right there could have killed him because yeah. So
I reloaded twice when he was in melee range, and I didn't melee him before reloading, which like we talked about.
Yeah. So 2 things to learn from there. Of course, 1, melee as much as you can whenever they're close, and also number 2, sweep the area. Be a little bit more thorough at least when you can. I mean, if it doesn't take a lot of time. It's not like you have to walk somewhere to check. You can literally just move your screen and just see, you know, if someone's there or not. Okay, this is kind of a risky play. You can see why it's a risky play, right?
Yeah, they were both in my line of sight. They just didn't happen to notice me because I'm a small target. And then the Ashe does notice me as I step out to triple blink onto her, and I think she body shots it. Okay,
so even if it was only 1 Ashe there, that approach directly onto her, why was that bad? Okay, so what is your goal here first? What's your goal?
My goal was to displace the Ashe from the high ground, at the very least, if not kill her. That was what I was trying to do.
Okay. Okay. So I guess it's half right, half wrong, but why is this a risky play, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Basically, you're counting on the fact that you're going to get the 1 clip, and you use 3 blinks to get here. You don't have any blinks to play around with the Ashe.
Okay, right? I see now, yes.
You use 3 blinks here. If she just looks at you, can you dodge it? No. You're going to take it in the face, and she knows, because she knows that you use 3 blinks, right? Oh, she doesn't have to worry about you blinking around. She's like, oh, Tracer used 3 blinks to get here. She technically doesn't have to be scared of you. All she really has to do is just shoot you once, throw a dynamite, and you're dead. Or you have to recall, one or the other. Like the Ashe didn't really keep track of your cooldowns. Like she could have just used her shift ability this way. If she used it this way, she would displace you front and she would just go backwards. You would be within her line of sight. You'd be dead. But she did it kind of like scared and she kind of like tried to use it to really get away. If she was actually thinking about how many cooldowns you had left, which was none, she would have had an easier shot to set up by going this way, right? But anyways, that's besides the point. But yes, you use too many cooldowns to get there. There's a very, very low chance that you're going to be able to finish her off. Now, if it's a different story, if she's like standing still and you looks like an easy one clip and you can like shoot, and then recall, but it's still very risky. The reason why it's super risky is because she knows you're coming from that angle, right? Because like, let's take a look. Yeah, she's really looking at you, right? So that's a mistake. However, okay, think about it like this. If you were here and she was here, and let's just say she was just like scoping and looking this way, right? She was just hard scoping and she's looking this way. It would be okay for you to do the triple blink here, because why? She's not paying attention to you. And by the time she figures out that you're on her, she's going to be dead. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
The reason why this was also very bad was not only, it was bad because you used 3 blinks, but also mostly because of the fact that she was already looking at you. If she wasn't looking at you, I mean, even if she's looking down this way, it's kind of obvious that you're still kind of going to be coming from there, right? You're still within her view. But then, for example, if you're coming in from behind, you triple blink, triple, 1, 2, 3. You can maybe headshot here like this. This would be better, and this would be okay because she's not paying attention to you.
So
right?
how would you recommend I get to that flank spot then?
Because the thing is, if you go around this way, they can see, right? They know you're going this way. So it's like, you're kind of giving away your position by going around this way. They know you're coming from that angle. Even here, the Hanzo can see you coming up here. So if you're up here, maybe our Hanzo will throw what was it? Sonar here and see you coming. Here. Yeah, so that's why it's very hard as Tracer to do this stuff. I would say it's better for you to go after the Hanzo rather than the Ashe. Requires 2 blinks to get to him instead. You have 1 blink. You have 1 blink to get here. Right? It only takes 1 blink. 1 blink. Shoot. Go behind. Shoot. If the Ashe starts shooting at you, you can recall, or you can, dip out. Dip out this way or something like that. Just back out. Whichever. I think you just spent a little bit too much effort onto the Ashe when she was like really hard for you to reach already, and also was paying attention to you. Widow would be very good here, actually. Right?
Yeah, that long spot from over there.
Or here.
You were telling me about.
Or here, right? You have more range than the Ashe does. This would be a good spot for you to be at here. This would be good, so you can shoot, or you can be from here too, right? You can even see the Ashe from here.
So I want to ask you about target priority then. So they're running Hanzo, Ashe. They're still technically snipers.
Mm-hmm.
As Widow, do I want to target the Ashe first or the Hanzo?
The Hanzo first. If you see both of them, Hanzo first. Because why? Ashe is not, well, it depends on where you are located as well. If you're here, either one's fine. Doesn't matter which one. But I think Hanzo, because he's the more he can one-shot you versus the Ashe. If you're all the way back here, then definitely the Hanzo, because the Hanzo can one-shot you from here. The Ashe cannot.
Right, okay.
You want to get rid of
that makes a lot of sense.
You want to get rid of whoever is the most dangerous to you first. Right? Who is the biggest danger to you at this moment from here? Hanzo, because Hanzo can kill you from this range. Can Ashe kill you from this range? Maybe. If she hits like 2 dinks on you, but it's a lot longer, or it's more effort on her part than the Hanzo, right? So it's a little bit different than Tracer, because Tracer is whoever is the easiest target for you. But for Widowmaker, it's whoever is the most danger to you in regards to like DPS. And then it's whoever's the easiest afterwards. Yeah, I think they kind of both happen at the same time. If one is really, really easy for you to pick up but not any danger to you, right, then you can kill them first. But then if somebody else is staring at you, right, let's say there's a Widow here. Let's just say there's a Widow staring at you right there versus let's just say a Mercy here is sitting AFK, right? But then there's a Widow up here who is staring at you at this angle. And then you can see the Mercy. which one would you want to go for first? You want to go for the Widow first because she's picking at you, right? What are the chances of you getting? What are the chances of you getting the kill on the Mercy when there's a Widow literally staring at you? 0, pretty much.
Very low. Yeah, very low.
So it's like, okay, even if that's an easy target, you gotta take care of the person who's going to shoot you first. Shoot whoever is shooting at you or who's ever to shoot at you, right? It's a different story for Tracer because Tracer has the mobility to kind of like zip around, like, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't catch me, and I can one clip somebody and I can get out, right? She has the ability to maneuver and escape and just kind of like make it hard for her to hit. But if you're Widow, it's all about just like shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting. So yeah, you gotta keep that in mind. But yeah, like I said, this is why Widow is very good on this map and Tracer is very hard. I do have a lot of trouble on this map when I play Tracer. If you feel like you do want to practice on your Widow, I do recommend Widow on this map for sure. At least on the first point. Second point, actually, it's not too bad too.
Yeah.
But Tracer
tailored my picks to the map that I'm playing in the team comp that I'm playing.
Yeah. Yeah, so like right here, you're giving away your position again, right? You're spraying from a really far range when you can easily just close the gap up here. There was nobody up here. It's okay for you to just check up here to see if anybody's there. If nobody's there, then you can take advantage of it. And if somebody is there, then you can just drop back down, right? So you were kind of like tunnel visioning here because I think you were just looking at the time. 10 seconds, like you got 10 seconds. You can peek up, like, oh, anybody here? No, okay. Closing the gap, come here. Maybe if anybody's looking, maybe if there is a Hanzo up here, you can duel the Hanzo, get rid of the high ground while somebody touches the point, or you can just at least come up here when there's nobody here and just wait for the last moment, touch, 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 shoot for 3 seconds, then recall up the high ground again, right? But coming from this angle, again, you're coming from a very expected angle, right? Everybody's looking this way.
Right.
Okay, so let's see what happens here. Focus on who was on the ground. No. God damn it! Why?
That was the steal the health pack before they can get it mentality.
What's more important now, dude?
killing the entire.
Yes. You're 5 HP. You may not have even been able to touch it. But look at this. You got 2 people who are down. Free kills here. I don't know if your team cleans up. No, they don't clean up. So just imagine that, right? Just imagine. You gotta be thinking, okay, like I said, it's kind of like the graph. When your team gets graphed, right? Or when your team grabs the enemy team, you gotta be looking. What is its effect on the enemy team? Because most likely, it makes it easy for you to get picks. Make sense?
Right.
What's important? What's more important? Because it's overtime. Like, yeah. Yeah. So these two.
This and was like, he's gonna point this out. He's gonna tell me it's like grab, and I should be looking at the shatter.
Yeah. 2 clip, or basically you can 1 clip the Hanzo or the Moira first. Obviously, Moira would be first here, and then because then she can get away, and also she's a support. So in this case, if you were planning to do that, Moira is your #1 priority because she has the most survivability. And also she has the healing ability for everybody else on the enemy team. Then you would focus the Hanzo last, because he'd probably be weak after being hit by the Reinhardt. But yeah, the Moira got out. She's probably healing up everybody. Oh, she just died. Just died. Ooh, nice maneuver. Ooh, recall! He had the recall as well. Yeah, I think that's just.
I was worried about C9ing there, to be honest with you.
You're worried about what? C9ing?
C9ing, yeah, because I watched the overtime. It's about to end, and I barely get in range, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to recall and C9 it.
Okay, so let me think. Okay, that is true. Okay.
Right here, I could have recalled. It would have put me right behind the Rhine.
I think you had the time to recall. So let's count. At that moment, you took that hit. where would you recall? Let's see. I'm pretty sure you would have recalled back onto the point after you got hit. And it would have been enough time. Okay, so what time is this? 15:14, so let's take a look at 15:11. You would have been on the point when you recalled. Right when you get hit, you would recall, and then you would touch the point, and the timer will go back up. And also you get your HP back, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like, again, keeping this mental timer in the back of your head. I guess it's kind of like, yeah, it's a little bit still difficult because it's not like, you know, built into your system yet, where it's like always running and running and running. But it's like, you gotta be expecting to take a little bit of damage and then split up your recall and your blinks afterwards. Because right now, if you use all your blinks and then you recall afterward, you're not gonna have any blinks to maneuver. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it would have been better for me to recall and then have like two. I would have had 2 blinks if I didn't blink here. Exactly. Because my second blink would have came up by the time I finished my recall. And
then you can maneuver around a little bit more, and then you can survive after your recall. So it's good to kind of like split your blinks with your recall, if that makes any sense. Blink, maneuver around, blink, maneuver around a little bit, take some damage, then recall to full health, and then now you have like 2 blinks to kind of like maneuver around again instead of using 3 blinks and then recalling at the end, and then you only have like 1 and you can't do anything with it. It's kind of like I guess like how to stall or how to live as long as you can. But anyways, I mean, you wouldn't have won this game because of that. But it's just, when the time comes, and if that does happen, that 1 second or 2 seconds that you buy can really make a big difference for you and your team.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's go over this one a little bit quickly. I mean, we're still gonna talk about stuff, but I'm not gonna dwell on things. But this is gonna be a pretty fast game, I guess. 14 minutes. I mean, maybe not fast, but Tracer tends to be a little bit less, because you already have a lot of experience with Tracer. And we're gonna be going over kind of like the same stuff, or stuff that I guess I talked about before, but are still seeing you doing, and maybe perhaps something new. So.
Ooh. All right.
Okay, so since you promised, you said you weren't going to int into the enemy team without any cooldowns, right? You made that promise? Right?
We've already done that in this episode. So, yeah.
So, okay, so I'm going to be watching out for that, okay? If you break your promise, I'm going to be mad. Better not see that happen this game.
What's my punishment? Push-ups?
I don't know. I'll find out if it happens. Okay, I like this. Okay, this is good. You're going on the flank already, going for supports. Lucio is a little bit hard to pick up, but you're able to... Okay. So, good time for you to melee. Blink melee, right? Instead of going in for a setup for the next clip, right here would have been a really nice time for you to blink into melee. It may not kill him. He's at 51 HP. But I mean, at least you're closing in the distance and you can kind of keep track of him. This is yeah, I guess that's a little bit of a risk right here. Yeah, nothing I can really complain about, because I wouldn't have netted in a kill, but at least you trying to at least get those melees off. Okay, let's look at that recall. 103 HP. Still at 103, 91 HP, right? So how much did you gain from that recall?
12 HP.
Worth it?
I actually used it to reposition and reload. I wasn't thinking about my health there because I knew I was about. I didn't hear the gasp. I was using it to like reload and reposition myself.
Okay, so don't do that. It's not good for you, especially in Tracer versus Tracer. For Tracer versus Tracer, it's very important for you to not use it to reposition, because they can get you to your position super quickly, unless it's high ground. If you're using it to, let's just say, you jump off, right, shoot for 3 seconds, and you're like 1 HP, or not 1 HP, but in like, you know for a fact that you're not going to win the fight because somebody else joined the fight, yeah, you can recall back up to reposition and then get away. Cool. But then if you're trying to use it to reposition against an enemy Tracer, and if they can blink to get to you, like, there's no point for you to do it, right? They can get to you pretty quickly, even if you basically recall to the same position. Like, did this actually put you in a better position? Like, you literally could have just sat here, reloaded, and you would, be able to mow her down, and then if she did a lot of damage to you, then you could recall to regain that health. Right? Does that make sense? Right. So, like, what benefits you more? Repositioning, or, saving it for when you actually need to get heals? When it's tracer versus tracer, yeah, when it's tracer versus tracer, it's whoever has the biggest health pool, right? If you can recall 149 life, let's say she brings you down to 1 HP, you recall 149 HP, that means you technically had a pool of 299 HP, right?
Yeah.
But then if she recalls late and she only gains, let's say, 12 HP, right? What's her maximum pool of HP? 162. So 299 versus 162, that's a huge advantage to you. That's 2 tracers, right? So that's one thing you want to be paying more attention to when it's tracer versus tracer. This positioning thing, it's situational based. It should be used when you need to get out, but not provide you like an advantage to jump on the enemy tracer, because that advantage almost doesn't really give you an advantage.
Right.
Okay, support. Nice. Could have blinked melee there, but it's okay. You got a pick, got a recall. You weren't watching your HP, and you weren't watching your cooldowns. Okay, so you need to be paying more attention to your HP. Right here. This would be a good time for you to reposition with your recall. Why? Because you're in danger of dying.
Yeah.
And you're not using it so that you can kill the other tracer. You're using it so you can outmaneuver the enemy tracer and get away. Right? So this is a good situation for you to recall, because you'll be like, brrr, you might end up back here. And then now you can just kind of like get away. Or maybe you might be somewhere on the point here. Right? As long as you're not in this area where you're going to get nuked by the enemy tracer. So you got to figure out like what is the situation for you to reposition, and what is the situation for you to get HP.
Yeah, I was waiting for the blink to come up to blink around this corner here on the left and then enter that.
Yeah, but remember, if you have that blink, will the tracer be able to catch up to you?
Yes, they will.
Yes, exactly. So you can't get away if you're out of blinks. She is going to either be out of blinks too, or have 1 blink over you. All right, so she's going to regain them the same time as you are. So if you're trying to escape an enemy tracer that way, unless you know for a fact that you use 2 blinks, let's say for example, you know she has no blinks, you use 1 blink, 2 blink, then you can get away because, well, you have 1 blink more than she does. But you don't know that right now, and also you're at 0. You're at the short end of the stick. Right? So if you have no options, right, don't be afraid to just look at your other option, which is your recall to reposition. Again, that would be a good time for you to reposition and get away, perhaps.
Okay.
I would say when you use your recall to reposition, use it more defensively. Ooh. Okay. So for one thing, when somebody is jumping like that, like this, it's a very good time for you to stick, but you also don't have to do this. You don't have to look upwards. Because look how much higher it's going when you look upwards. It goes like woo, like that, right? But if you kind of just like aim like right here, if you aim head level, it will still go up. But the thing is, it will still like go towards the same target, but it won't have that extra lob. I keep looking at that, and it's kind of inappropriate, but you know what I mean, right? I'm trying not to look at there, but
family friendly.
Yeah, simple. But it's like, if you just throw it normally, it will already have this arc, but it won't be so high. It will stick the target either way because of the fact that they're jumping. The higher that you aim your pulse bomb, the farther that it's going to go, and the more airtime it has. Okay. So when somebody is jumping and walking towards you, you just have to aim head level, and it will stick them if they are in the air.
Okay.
Does that make sense? However, if they're not jumping, and if they are just like standing still, and you aim it at them, or if you aim it higher, it may actually fly above their head because of the way that the arc is going.
Yeah, I've had that happen before.
Yeah, so if the target is jumping, aim head level and at the target, and it will hit them. If they aren't jumping, you want to be looking towards their legs. Have I talked to you about this before? All right.
No, we haven't touched this. You want me to look at their legs when I'm pulsing if they're not jumping?
Yes. 2 things. 1, you know how it looks like an arc whenever you throw it? What happens if you look downwards? The arc changes. Okay, so let me show you. I'll show you a picture. So you throw a bomb and you're looking at them, right? It goes like this, right? Or it kind of goes like this, actually. Takes a long time for it to fly over. Do you see my pen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it's like that. However, if you look downwards, what's going to happen? The arc now goes like this.
Oh my god.
So what happens if you look even lower? Then it's going to go
straight through, and now you're hitting them center mass instead of their tiny head, especially on Mercy.
Not only that, what's the velocity of this bomb when it's
Very
going this way?
quick.
Exactly.
Versus taking
Instead
the
of-
parabolic arc, it's
What's the horizontal speed of this arc? Very slow. What's the horizontal speed of this one?
very quick. Very quick. Yeah, it's more of a line drive rather than a fly ball.
Exactly. Not only that, if you end up missing and it goes over their head, how far is it going to end up?
Very far away from them.
However, if you aim it down at their legs and you miss, where is it going to end up?
At their toes.
And it's going to blow up in their face. Either way. I mean, it has a higher chance at least. It has a higher chance of blowing up here and they die to it instead of like way out here, right?
And nobody dying to it, right?
Exactly.
That's why I get I've been pulsing like at head level, like when they're on the ground, and then when they jump, flicking up. And what I've found is a lot of times my pulse will go over their head and it'll freaking fly. Like I'm a pitcher for the Dodgers and I'm just throwing it.
Exactly.
So I end up not getting a lot of value out of it.
Just think about it as well. If it's like this, I'll just draw it out for you now that since we're here. Imagine the target's jumping like this, right? If you aim head level, oops, the bomb is still going to hit them, even if you aim head level and they're in the air. Now, if they're the same level as you, then it might go over their head, but if they're jumping, all you gotta do is just look straight, head level, and you can do it. If you can, take Tracer 1v1s, go ahead. But realize that if she's getting a lot of support, then she is probably going to be able to get away from you. Okay, right now you're focusing the Genji, that's not bad. Good T-back to hurt the solo a little bit. Gotta watch out for the Mercy. Yep, go for the Mercy at this moment. Focus the Mercy, focus the Mercy. Good, good. Nice. Okay, so I noticed something as well. You tend to not empty out a full clip before you blink. Okay, I gotta see that again. But like right here. Shoot. You still have 2 bullets left, right? And then you're kind of just like caught with your pants down and then reloading right now. So what I want you to do is kind of get the internal clock of how long it takes for you to empty out an entire clip. Okay. Every time I want you to try to make it so that you're reloading while you're blinking, so you don't waste any time reloading while looking at the target. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because right here, whack, that's fine. But then if that's the case, you need to reload right now, instead of wasting this half a second not doing anything, right? So either A, you have to always empty out a full clip before you melee and then start blinking so that it automatically does it for you. Or B, if you shoot, and you realize, okay, I should reload right now. I'm about like maybe 38 bullets, but I'm going to just tap R just to make sure that I reload instead of reloading at the most important time. Because what could happen?
Question here. Does blink cancel my reload?
No. You can blink while reloading, or you can reload and then blink, and then you can do both simultaneously at the same time.
So I do this a lot because I didn't know that. I thought that blink canceled your reload.
Okay, no, it doesn't. Yeah. So you can reload and then blink, and then it will still go through, or you can blink and then or whichever one. It doesn't cancel. This is what I normally do. Or if I go like this, then it's like you're always reloading when you blink, whenever you can, because it makes it so that. Go ahead.
I gotta get into practice range and just practice empty a clip, press R, and then blink.
Or both at the same time.
Yeah, or both at the same time. Just to get that rhythm down. Because I did it with the blink, like blinking and my aim, like moving, like you taught me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know about the reload not getting canceled by blink, so I need to get into the training range again and just do this for a while.
It's just kind of like this rhythm that you build. And it's just like you gotta remember like how many seconds does it take for a Tracer to empty out a clip? Kind of like 1 second, right? So as long as you get that down, you don't catch yourself out like blinking like this and then anti-clip and then reloading, because I only got 10 shots off, right? So what do I do at that time? If you blink and you realize you only have 8 bullets left, you just reload and then finish off that clip at the end. Of course, depending on how much HP the other target is. If they're like full HP, then yeah, you want to reload. But if they're like maybe 1 HP, then yeah, you can shoot those last 2 bullets in it to get a pick.
Got it.
But yeah, just try to make it a habit of you just reloading while you blink. Unless you see the target is low, then you can finish them off with like the last 2 or 3 bullets. I think that's gonna be it then. Anything else? You good?
I'm good.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks for coming on. That was actually pretty good. And I guess we'll do the same thing again, maybe in about a week or 2 if you get stuck. You know, you've climbed to gold already. That's like 500, 600 SR. That's really big. So maybe in about a week at least, or maybe 2 weeks if you are climbing again. But I'm assuming that you're going to be getting a little bit stuck soon, which is okay. And that's fine. Or maybe you might pop off like crazy, one or the other, whichever one. I'm not too sure, but yeah, maybe next week we'll catch up again.
Awesome. Sounds good to me.
Cool. Thanks, man. You have a good night, dude.
You too, man.
All right. Bye.